When the ghost of your dead fold wizard tells you to keep moving, that's probably what you should do, even if you don't entirely understand how or why.
Remember when we told you to get used to door as a verb way back in Season 1? Well, this is why.
Nice job accommodating emergent linguistic mutations.
You, like the characters of the podcast this is, possess what you require to adapt to weird new situations as they arise.
Okay, we gotta stop doing that. They know what podcast this is.
We didn't say what podcast it is this time, though. It's the Science Fantasy podcast.
Unnecessary.
Well, maybe they've forgotten.
Unlikely. Let's keep dooring.
The strange spell of speaking to the memory of a dead person has not been broken just by stepping back into the hall, not by a long shot. Everyone is processing it in their own way, but the levels of heightened surrealism around here have gotten so absurd that they kind of just have to move on or go crazy, like Mother Artifice said.
Okay, so, paintings, no. Doors, yes. Doors explored equals hallway progressed.
Hey, that kind of rhymes. And, yeah, Artifice did make it sound like that was the case.
Felix, as usual, scoffs.
He said a lot of things without really saying anything, though.
That's an understatement.
Steve grunts.
He said we have what we need to proceed.
I suppose he did.
And not to linger.
The vertiginous passageway shimmers now with even more mica-like crags in its upper reaches, and the flow of fold trickling along the floor has grown slightly deeper, steadier.
The darkness behind them is growing too, however, expanding, deepening, drawing closer.
So is it gonna get more like this every time we go in a door?
Everett asks.
The fold and the mica's pretty reassuring, but I don't know about all that, though.
She's indicating the shadowy end of the hall.
Definitely not going back that way.
Mickey squints into the looming darkness behind, then down the shifting infinity ahead.
Anyone see any personally meaningful doors? I guess we're supposed to prioritize things that we don't all remember.
That one.
Cleo says, suddenly summoning her overtaxed reserves of bravery.
Let's start there. I know exactly where that goes.
And with a wary look at each other, and a nervous glance at the growing gloom behind them, the crew get down to dooring.
The garden is nothing like the rest of the Gilmuth estate. Nothing like those perfect, dainty show gardens designed to delight important visitors.
Elodia's garden is more like an enchanted forest, half wild, full of bugs, not entirely hospitable to strangers.
Thorny, twisting stalks thrust toward the coral-textured sky, where the ebon reef scintillates with waves of multicolored light, vivid against the dark fold.
Big spearwing leaves arch overhead like shiny turtle shells, filigreed with hot pink veins.
Scents of damp soil, peppery mage leaves, and heady silk dew nectar hang thick in the air.
Memory of yours, Cleo?
Zila boggles at all the glorious plant life.
Where are we?
Granny Elodia's garden.
You know, it kind of looks a lot like that big garden you were describing to me.
Yeah, I guess it does. Young preteen Cleo storms up the garden path, charging right through the crowd of hall explorers. Her shoulders are up to her ears, fists clenched. Present Cleo can practically feel the anxious knots in her stomach. Up ahead, past the thicket of slender, person-sized ghostlight mushrooms, she can hear Granny's low humming.
In the center of the garden stands a huge old spiral vine tree. And from the biggest, strongest branch of that tree hangs an egg-shaped swing chair. A cozy little wicker pod filled with cushions and stuffed animals and comic books.
It is into this pod that preteen Cleo hurls herself, sending it jouncing and swinging. She lets out a frustrated sigh.
And Granny Elodia stops humming and clears her throat.
Who's fighting now? Candy and Sabile? Again?
Granny is kneeling by a bed of moss, carefully distributing small, bright yellow worms out of a bucket. Her graying lilac hair glows gently through the fabric of the kerchief that it's tied back with.
Candy keeps accusing Sabile of copying her style, which, Candy does do a lot, but not as much as Sabile says she does. And it's like all Candy ever does anymore is wait around for Sabile to do something that she can get mad at. And then she spends a week telling everybody about it and obsessing over every little detail. And I can't tell if Sabile is just completely oblivious or if she genuinely doesn't realize she's provoking Candy. And I'm getting really nervous because I know I'm going to have to talk to one of them about it eventually, and I don't know which side to pick, Whoa, slow down. Who says you have to pick a side? This isn't war. This is just your aunts arguing. Like children, I might add. They're going to make me pick a side. They both say I'm their favorite niece, and I know it really hurts their feelings that I haven't told either of them that they're my favorite aunt, but I don't want either of them to... Cleo, it's not anybody's business who your favorite aunt is, assuming you even have one. Favorite isn't some award you're obligated to hand out.
Cleo thinks about this for a minute.
But Candy and Sabile used to get along so well. And it was really, really fun when we'd all hang out together and they'd take me to concerts and stuff. What if they never want to do that anymore? Then they won't. You can't control how people feel. Aurelia can.
Elodia sighs, wiping sweat from her brow with the back of her gardening glove.
That's not control, that's just influence. I wish I had influence. You do, Beansprout, more than you know. But just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should. I have to do something. If I don't, Candy will make the mirrors mean, and Sabile will start bringing statues to life, and then Mimi will know something's going on, and then she'll make Anemone get involved, and I won't be able to sleep until... All right, get up. But I'm comfy. Get up. Hit something. You'll feel better.
Granny is already getting the wooden practice swords out from underneath the wheelbarrow.
She used to store them in the shed, but now they practice so frequently that it's easier to just keep them handy at all times.
Cleo wriggles free of the pod with some difficulty.
It was always easier to get in than to get out.
And she picks up her sword, the hilt comfortable and familiar in her hand.
Granny is already standing in her relaxed, defensive position, which barely looks like a position at all.
But Cleo knows that informal stance is a deception. It's next to impossible to get through Granny's guard.
Granny smiles affectionately.
Let it out, Beansprout.
Aboard a research foldmersible, a full-sized large man terrorologist and his also regularly sized assistant crowd around a dark porthole, frantically taking notes.
Terrorized fold swirls throughout the cabin.
We've seen enough, boss. We gotta go.
Just a few more seconds. I've almost got...
Now, Hambing! It's too dangerous! Are we both tiny?
Yeah. Whoa!
The entire spectral door-traveling crew
Plus full-size present Hambing
incredulously inspect the two tiny scientists. Felix laughs.
Hang on a second. Hambing, your voice was like that before you got shrunk?
Oh, this? Yeah, I was just born this way. Cool, huh?
Ripley Rawfield waits tensely in a gleaming antechamber before a huge set of golden doors embossed with a grand triangular sigil.
A contingent of fellow company members surrounds her. White valor beads glitter upon everyone's armor.
From beyond the doors, an eerie silence has fallen. The unearthly screaming has finally stopped.
Shouldn't we go in, sir?
Asks one of the other company members.
We wait for the prime consector signal.
Replies their lieutenant stiffly. A muscle in his jaw is twitching.
Have the medical case at the ready, medic.
Rawfield nods. The unfamiliar leather case, confiscated just hours earlier, is clutched tightly in her sweating hand.
She has barely had time to review its arcane contents, which, unfortunately, makes her the expert here.
Then, the doors crash open. The prime consector there, wide-eyed. "Hurry," he gasps.
For the good of the trust.
Present-day Rawfield growls and beckons the crew away without a backward glance. On a collapsible lounge chair on the deck of the timekeeper's buoy-tracking vessel, a slightly shorter-haired Felix Hustleworth reads a book under the shade of an umbrella as the cosmos floats serenely by.
The buoy tracker is a broad, flat, raft-like, nearly weightless vessel, similar to the design of those teletheric converter platforms in that it has several long, spindly legs like a water skimmer to distribute its weight atop the ephemeral median.
The unfurled sail displays the timekeeper's colors, proudly identifying the crucial vessel to all it should encounter in its long traversal.
The buoy bobs in the current just ahead, setting their leisurely pace.
A fellow timekeeper comes out of the ship's small cabin, carrying a sheaf of fold current and wind speed printouts. She blinks rapidly as she adjusts to the bright sunlight.
Okay, anything to report?
She asks.
No. Felix sighs blissfully.
This mid-traversal stretch leading up to MIDST is proving to be his favorite part of the journey thus far. No stomach-lurching rapids like further up current, no swampy late-stage terrors like he knows they'll increasingly encounter down current.
Just calm sailing, gentle breezes, and all the time in the cosmos.
Did you know the guy who wrote that book you're reading is working on that new ship?
Felix slowly turns his head to look at her over the top of his glasses.
That guy?
He says, incredulously.
You mean Merlin Vought, Bernhardt and Gödel's most famous cosmologist? Yeah, I knew that.
Yikes, sorry, I didn't know you were such a fanboy.
I'm not a... He's a good writer. He has very interesting ideas.
Felix's colleague leans over to examine the author photo on the back cover.
Reading it for the plot, are we?
Shut up, Madeline.
I didn't realize you were familiar with my work, Felix. In fact, you had kind of implied that you weren't familiar.
Present-day Hall of Doors Felix is avoiding eye contact.
Yeah, well, didn't want to seem like a fanboy.
Total darkness.
Warm steam.
Soapy water.
A smooth stone floor underfoot.
The distant ghost of incense.
Is that the last dish?
Asks a certain daughter. They know it is the last one. They can tell by the sound of the water in the sink. But they ask anyway, disappointed for the task to be over so soon.
You know it is,
replies the other daughter teasingly.
We got it done extra fast this time.
To Dot's mind, this is nothing to be pleased about.
Yes, well,
I suppose we should return to our studies then.
Their friend laughs, which manifests as just a noiseless shudder. Don't you ever want to take advantage of a little free time?
Free time is kind of all the daughters have, but in another sense, it is not free, nor does it feel much like time.
What do you mean?
Dot asks warily.
Their friend is more daring than they are, more flexible with the rules. Probably because she is effortlessly talented and doesn't require the long hours of disciplined practice that Dot does.
I smuggled something in,
says their friend mischievously.
And this statement instantly fills Dot with pulse-pounding anxiety. Again.
Last time, it was one of her favorite childhood storybooks. Dot still has no idea how she managed it.
They weren't able to look at it, of course, but their friend knew it by heart and was able to paint a picture in Dot's mind by describing each illustration as they guided their fingers over the pages.
It was, so far, the most thrilling experience of Dot's life. This time, it is no book that their friend presses into Dot's hands.
Dot feels a glass jar, perhaps, with something sloshing gently inside it.
Careful, don't jostle it.
Why not?
That's how you make it light up.
Were it not for their rigorous training in matters of tranquility, Dot might have dropped the jar.
Make it what?
Their friend carefully takes back the jar from their now sweaty grasp.
Bioluminescent algae. People use it for lanterns on some islets. I thought maybe we could take a look at each other.
Dot doesn't know what to be the most shocked at. The smuggled light source, the word thought, or their friend's proposed plan.
But never once has a single light or candle flame
illuminated any chamber of the snowium. You don't really believe that, do you? Come on. No one takes the rules as seriously as you do. What about be not in thrall to any axiom? That's a rule too.
But what if we get caught?
We won't. It'll just be a moment, and then it will go out, and then I'll pour the jar down the sink, I promise. Don't you want to see each other? We might never get the chance otherwise.
But that's not...
Their friend squeezes Dot's hand reassuringly.
Okay. Don't panic. I won't force you to break any rules.
Dot's heart rate comes down just a bit, only to skyrocket again as their friend continues.
You could keep your eyes closed. If you don't see the light, is there really a light at all?
Why would you even want to know what I look like? That shouldn't matter.
Lots of things shouldn't matter, but they still do, don't they? Tell me no, and I'll dump the jar out right now. But if you would permit it, I would love to look upon the face of my dearest friend, just once.
Well, that pretty much withers what remains of Dot's self-resolve. They take a deep breath, closing their eyes firmly.
I suppose, if you must.
Their friend is delighted.
Just sit there like the good daughter you are. Keep your eyes closed, and I'll get this blasphemy over with real quick.
Liquid sloshes as their friend agitates the jar, exciting the organisms within.
Dim, bluish light blooms in the tiny chamber, fluctuating and flickering. Dot watches the inside of their eyelids illuminate like paper lampshades, painting their vision with a wash of blushing cerulean. It is gorgeous, and it is terrifying. Even closed, Dot's eyes start to water, stinging from this ever so gentle light, as though from the brightest flash of an incendiary imaging device. They
They are practically levitating with adrenaline.
There's a long, unbearable eternity as their friend, presumably, observes them. She doesn't say a word. The light in the jar slowly fades until eventually it disappears.
Wow,
Their friend says,
you're beautiful.
Dot does not open their eyes again for a long, long time.
Whilst exploring these various memory doors, the crew at large are doing remarkably well at not looking at any paintings.
Oh yeah, like astonishingly well. They are keeping to task, and they are avoiding the one thing they were warned against examining.
Bravo, characters!
However, there is one person who has not taken to heart Artifice's advice.
Can you guess who that would be?
No, you don't have to guess, we'll tell you. It's Steve.
Don't tell me what to do, manners. What do they know?
Steve is plodding along slightly behind the rest of the group, until, in a moment of self-satisfied defiance, his liquid eye thing subtly darts, in passing, to one of the paintings.
And in the dark shine of that eye, a warped reflection of an image on canvas.
Red.
Broken bodies.
Brutalized remains strewn around a shattered fold-light.
A bacular spine ripped free of its delicate connections.
And in the center of it all, ferocious, triumphant, and utterly alone.
Steve, what are you doing back there? Keep up.
Steve's brain pupil glimmers in his head like a constellation of dim, red stars scattered across his mind.
He wiggles his head sack, thoughts cleared, so to speak, and he trots ahead to catch up with the crew.
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm coming.
By this point, many doors in, the hall is looking remarkably cosmos-like compared to when they first arrived.
It's clear that whatever it is that they're doing is having an effect.
What the ultimate outcome will be is yet to be seen, but it seems like maybe just a few more doors should do the trick. Whatever the trick is should tip the scale, maybe, definitively, from hall to something else, somewhere else.
Throughout their explorations, inconclusive signs of omelet continue to be found. A tuft of yellow hair here, a darting feline shadow there. No one has gotten a proper glimpse of him yet.
Cleo is fretting. I mean, what could he be finding to eat in here? Can you eat the memories of food? Is that gonna make him sick?
Zila shrugs. Animals don't always know what's best for them, but you also have to give them some credit. I mean, we're doing foolhardy things, exploring this crazy place ourselves. What kind of advice do you think Omelet would give if he could?
The flicker of a smile.
Maybe don't worry quite so much, and stay curious?
Zila grins back.
Good advice.
As Zila wanders ahead, Cleo falls into step with Dot now. Your friend was right, you know. You are beautiful.
Cleo blushes.
Sorry, bad timing.
Why would it be?
Cleo looks at them like they're nuts. Because we're wandering around some kind of dream hallway right after escaping from the cosmos of doom and despair and going back in time to talk to Mother Artifice. And I guess I'm still trying to bounce back from believing you were about to die. This is all really confusing. I don't know how to act around you anymore. I guess I was just trying to flirt with you. But just because you kissed me once, I know that doesn't automatically make us a couple or something.
I was under the impression that you wanted to be a couple.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
I was under the impression that was off the table.
Yeah, Dot shrugs.
Things have changed.
Cleo's eyes go wide.
What is up with you? Are you saying what I think you're saying?
The future is very uncertain. I am still here, and so are you. All we have is the present.
Cleo's mouth is hanging open.
I've never had a girlfriend before.
You want to date?
Sure, why not?
Shouldn't we get out of this hall first?
Why? This is where we are. This can be our first date.
This? Dates aren't like this.
This one is.
They offer a gloved hand, which Cleo incredulously takes.
You're beautiful too.
Merlin hasn't come across a memory of his own yet, which doesn't bother him. After all, many of these memories seem quite private. He's not eager to embarrass himself, it's just he does find himself actively searching for any door that looks personally relevant to him. There has to be one in here somewhere, right? If there were, that would prove that he is the same as all of his human crewmates in some fundamental way. Not that that needs proving. He knows he has memories. He has memories of his own that no one else has. He certainly doesn't care what this nonsense hallway thinks of him.
Still, when he spies the canvas tarp fluttering in the dark, bedrocky doorway ahead, he immediately springs into action, feeling something like vindication.
Why, it is the very tarp he hung over the entrance to the Bocular Haas stable back in the last Cosmos, as part of a futile attempt to make the place feel a bit more homey.
This should be quick and easy. This looks like a memory of mine, from the doldrums of the sun-watched city.
The biological man looks at him suspiciously.
Hang on. How do you know that's yours? That could be another big group memory. Artifice said to avoid those.
But Merlin is already striding forth with hasty confidence, stepping into the shadowy shade of the Dark City scene.
And it is immediately clear. This is no memory of Merlin's. Inside of the bedrock Bocular Haas stable, Merlin witnesses Felix and the biological man very much in the middle of something. It takes him a few moments to compute what he's seeing, even though two people furiously making out shouldn't be that hard to understand. Felix is pressed against a wheeled stagecoach tool cabinet, his glasses smudged and askew. The biological man's white tunic lies rumpled at their feet. They are trying to be silent, but they are both clearly lost in the heat of the moment. And with astonishing abruptness, Merlin reverses back out of the memory, wrenching the tarp shut again. His faceplate practically shimmers with heat. He can tell with a single glance at his companions that they are as shocked as he is, all except for Felix and the diabolical man.
So, what is that when you people mash your talking holes together? Is it some form of cannibalism? It always seems to astound everyone.
Felix. A word.
Thanks for listening to Unend. If you're enjoying the story, please rate and review to help someone new discover the cosmos.
You can catch Unend every Wednesday anywhere you stream podcasts or through the MIDST Podcast YouTube channel.
If you're looking to dive deeper into the story, become a Beacon member at beacon.tv or join the fold on midst.co to receive early ad-free access to episodes, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and lore-expanding bonus content.
Or, if you just want to hear this podcast 2 weeks early and without ads, subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
To stay up to date on what's next in the cosmos, sign up for our newsletter on midst.co or find us on social media at MIDST Podcast.